One of the questions I've had since becoming a fan is, why is it that in K-pop, every track that's not the title song is labeled as B-side? The more I listened, the more I understood why, and the more it started to bug me. The terms A-side and B-side come from vinyl records and cassettes, where the A-side is the main record that gets the most attention during the production process and promotion. Then you could flip your vinyl or cassette to find more songs. This is the B-side, a secondary recording that usually doesn't get as much spotlight. These days, with digital formats like downloads and streaming taking over, the physical sides are not a thing. But artists still use A-side and B-side metaphorically to describe the content of their releases, with B-sides often being bonus tracks or extra material. B-sides are often considered filler material, songs of lower quality. While there are definitely some great B-sides out there, they generally get less attention and aren't the main focus. A B-side is a track that didn't make it into the main album set list for some reason. For example, 2013 is a B-side, a bonus track on the album AM by Arctic Monkeys. Knee Socks, however, is not a B-side, it's part of the main album set list. Similarly, The Escapist is a bonus track on Dark Passion Play by Nightwish, while 7 Days to the Wolves is part of the main set list. B-sides didn't make it onto the main album because they were deemed not suitable. Maybe they didn't turn out as expected, or they didn't fit the album's vibe. Sometimes they're studio live versions, demos, or covers. Whatever the reason, these tracks aren't the main focus of the album. The term doesn't apply to songs that aren't heavily promoted, don't have a music video, or aren't singles. These songs are part of the album, they make up the album, they are A-sides. In K-pop, the term B-side is used differently. Every song on an album that isn't the title track, the main promotional single, is labeled a B-side. This isn't just a word choice, it reflects a bigger issue with how K-pop treats its music. In K-pop, the focus is overwhelmingly on the title track. This song gets the music video, the heavy promotion, the choreography, and is the face of the album. Meanwhile, the rest of the album, labeled as B-sides, is usually treated as secondary. These tracks often seem to just fill out the album rather than contribute to a cohesive work. Albums in K-pop are often created out of necessity for the industry, not for the music itself. Songs are added specifically to meet the requirements of an EP album, 4 to 6 tracks, an LP album, 10 to 12 tracks, or a single album when needed. For instance, albums need to have at least 2 songs to be able to sell physical copies. This is why even single albums often include 2 songs. Additionally, different charts and awards count different album types, so companies will choose the type of album that aligns with their goals for the group, even if they don't have the right songs to fill it. As more people move towards streaming, singles and single albums are dominating the industry since they don't require the effort of finding enough songs to fill a record for physical sales. This approach can lead to albums that feel disjointed, where the non-title tracks get less attention during production and often end up feeling like filler, something we see a lot in K-pop. The title track may be another catchy song with choreography, a ballad, and a 4th track that just fills space and no one remembers, to make up an EP. It's frustrating. It's even more frustrating when these so-called B-sides are actually great songs that deserve more recognition. By labeling them as B-sides, the industry implies they're less important or lower quality, even when they're not. What's particularly disappointing is that in many cases, these B-sided tracks are what make the album an album. They provide depth, variety, and context to the title track. They help create well-put-together albums. Yet, because of the way the industry structures its promotions, these tracks are often overlooked by both the industry and the fans. This whole B-side thing also points to a bigger issue, how K-pop often puts visuals and marketability over the music. In K-pop, the title track gets all the spotlight, the flashy music video, big promotions, and choreography. While there's nothing wrong with focusing on visuals and performance, they're a huge part of what makes K-pop so fun. It's a problem when it means the music takes a backseat. K-pop does an amazing job with visuals, storytelling, fashion, and all the artistic stuff, but the music just doesn't get the same level of attention. Title tracks are usually crafted with a lot of care. Okay, not always, there are definitely some duds out there, but the rest of the album can feel like it's just filling space. It's a real letdown when the music isn't given the same attention as everything else. You have the most beautiful cake, with the tastiest buttercream and fruits on top, but the cake itself and the filling are bland. Isn't this a shame? Albums, even mini-albums, should be cohesive bodies of work. The tracks should fit together and feel like they belong to that album, rather than just being interchangeable filler. But that's easier said than done, especially in K-pop, where time and money are always tight. Plus, idols often aren't involved in the production, and songs are often sourced from all over. Finding tracks that match the group's or soloist's style, voice, and album concept can be tough. That's why many groups work with specific producers, but even then, the fast pace of K-pop makes it hard to create songs tailored to one project. So, using random songs that fit the group's vibe is often the easiest way to put an album together. With how quickly the K-pop industry moves, albums are becoming rare, and this trend is affecting other music industries too. Singles are the norm now because companies want their groups constantly in the spotlight. Releasing albums every 3 to 4 months is practically impossible. Even EPs, which used to be the standard, are less common. Groups used to have comebacks twice a year with a mini album and a full album every 2 to 3 years. Now, it's mostly singles, collaborations with games, advertisement songs, and maybe a mini album somewhere in between. That said, I've noticed that the few albums that do come out these days are often better in quality than they used to be. I actually enjoy albums a lot more now, even from the same groups. It's clear that, despite the fast pace of the industry, there's still some really good work being done, even if it's rare.